Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. Today we're continuing Book 7 of Nicomachean Ethics, and we're looking at which we ended in many sense the first discussion of self-restraint and lack of self-restraint. And now we're getting into some problems. This is the puzzles, we call it, some more puzzles. We are looking at today chapter 11, which is a short chapter, so we probably won't be on too long today. So let's look at what we is doing here. Okay, so let's go look at this. Contemplating what concerns pleasures and pains belonging to him who philosophizes about the political art. So therefore, it's interesting. This is an interesting thing. We're contemplating about pleasures, what concerns pleasure and pain, for belonging to one who philosophizes about the political art. So this is the concerning about the person someone who's philosophizing about political things, about contemplating or theorizing about pleasures and pain, what concerns pleasures and pains. For he is the architect of the end with a view to which we speak of each of these things as being bad or good in an unqualified sense. So therefore, the person who's philosophizing with political art, this is the architect. He is the architect. He's about what to the view of the end with a view to which we speak about each of these things being bad or good in an unqualified sense. Further, it is also necessary to examine what concerns them. For we posited, now this is earlier, both ethicae and vice, moral virtue, ethical virtue, ethicae virtues and vices, as being concerned with pains and pleasures. And most people assert that happiness is accompanied by a pleasure. So, okay, this is very interesting here. That, in other words, that we we argued that moral virtue, ethical virtue, and vice, as being concerned with pains and pleasures. And also, most persons assert that happiness is accompanied by pleasure. Hence, they have derived the name of the blessed person from the feeling of enjoyment. 50. A rather fanciful the rather fanciful etymology Aristotle reports here is untranslatable. The term blessed, Marcos, supposedly derives from the verb to feel enjoyment, or to delight in something. Apotol sharim, right? This is the Marcos, the blessed, the Marcos, and to feel enjoyment or delight in something. This is derived from it. This is why it's very interesting. He says that hence it's in other words, you can't translate the etymological pun. Aristotle in the Greek makes an etymological pun. It's noticeable, but you can't translate that to make that same pun in English. Okay, so this is more of a translation than this is more of interpretation or explanation than per se. The translation, when you translate it in English, doesn't have the same etymological pun that is noticeable in the Greek. So this idea of the blessed, right? This is the idea. So let's continue. By some people, then, no pleasure is held to be good, either in itself or incidentally. For the good and pleasure are held not to be the same thing. So there are some people. This is the Kant, Immanuel Kant. He doesn't mention Kant. He doesn't know Kant. Aristotle doesn't know Kant, but Kant is one of these people who argues that if it's pleasure is not a good, the good cannot be tied to pleasure or utility. things like this. But some people argue that no pleasure is held to be good. But by certain others, some pleasures are held to be good, though they hold the majority of them to be bad. So then there's one people who held pleasures are complete. The good and the pleasures are completely different things, and there can be no pleasure that intersects with the good, in itself or incidentally. The other one is, well, some pleasures are good, but the majority of pleasures, however, are not. And further, the third view, even if all pleasures are good, nevertheless pleasures do not admit of being the best thing. Okay, so therefore, that all pleasures are, even if all pleasures are good. The third view is, even though all pleasures can be good, but pleasures are not the best thing. There's something higher than pleasure. So three views: utter incompatibility, blood pleasure good. On, some are good, most are not. All can be good, but not the best. Okay, these are the three traditions here. In general, then, pleasure is not good because every pleasure is a perceptible process of coming. Because every pleasure is a perceptible process of coming into its nature, but no coming into being belongs to the same class as the ends we pursue. For example, no house builder belongs to the same class as house. So the difference between the thing that comes into being, this is a very interesting point here. He's now saying that pleasure is not a good, because the good is the completed thing. And the pleasure itself is a coming into being of something. Every pleasure is a perceptible process of, of coming into its nature. But no coming into being belongs to the same class as an end, the ends we pursue. So, in other words, the building of the house is not the house. The making of the house is not the house. The coming into being is not the thing. The thing is the thing. The thing is the thing. The end. The it. And further, the moderate person, the sophosounos, avoids pleasure. Okay. Does he? Again, that's a very interesting thing. Further, the moderate person avoids pleasure. That's does he? That's a He asserts this. Further, this. Okay, that's it. Further, the prudent person pursues what is painless, not the pleasant. Hmm. Okay. Further, pleasures are an impediment to prudential thinkings. And the more delight they suppose, the more impediment they are. For example, sexual pleasure, nobody will be able to think about anything while it's grip. Now, this is interesting. Yeah. In other words, you can't accomplish. In other words, pleasure. In other words, first he makes. First of all, he says so the moderate person avoids pleasure. But I thought the sophosounos was having the correct attitude to play, being able to enjoy it. See, this seems to contradict the earlier discussion here. So is this kind of is he trying to make us think about this point? Is this a test in this sense, thinking about this? So further, the prudent person, no, so therefore, um, the moderate person avoids pleasure. But I thought the moderate person was not the one who avoids pleasure, but knew how to handle pleasure properly, Sophocles, in all the way in book 3, when we talked about Sophocles, moderation. Because that would assume that the courageous person feels no fear. That's not true. He handles fear properly. In other words, he has he has the right relationship with fear, right? The courageous is not absence of fear. It is that he has enough fear, but he treats it correctly and is able to act, able to overcome it in relation, not to simply overcoming it and ignoring it, but rather respecting it, having the right fear, respecting, understanding the fear, but then respecting, not having having fearing the knowing what is to be feared. In other words, having the right relation to what is truly fearful, not what simply having a incorrect understanding of what's fearful. But the courageous person knows what is fearful and what is truly correctly fearful, and then still is able to act in response to the fearful. Right. Um, the sophos is like that in that sense. The moderate person is like that in that sense. Of this, again, this is book 3, right? All the way back in book 3 when we dealt with this. So here we get an extreme position. Now the prudent person pursues what is painless, not the pleasant. Okay, but I thought the prudent person picks what is right. What is the correct action? So this is another aspect here. There's something further going. And further, pleasures are impediments to prudent thinking. And the more delight they supply, the more impotence. But I thought okay, so remember that we talked about that this is the clever, right? The clever. Sexual, now, for example, sexual pleasure, nobody able to think about it, he's in the grip of it. Hence, there is no art of pleasure, though everything good is the work of an art. So he makes a further assertion as further, the furthers, okay, further this, further that. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, that there is no art of pleasure, right? Because remember, that's interesting. That no art of pleasure, though everything good is the work of an art. So there's no art of pleasure. Further, so that's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of them. And then the last fifth further is further, children and brutes, animals, pursue pleasures. Children and brute animals pursue pleasures. Further. So the furthers. These are this is kind of a response. The 5 answers why the anti-pleasure argument. Pleasure is not good. As for pleasures not at all being of serious worth, that is because there are pleasures that are both shameful and subject to reproach, and because there are harmful ones. Some pleasures having the characteristics of diseases. So in other words, as pleasures not at all being serious worth, having worthy of the spudaios, that is because there are pleasures that are both shameful and subject to reproach, and also because there are harmful ones, and some pleasures are like diseases. As for pleasures, not being the best thing, that is because it is not an end, but a process of. In other words, it cannot be. Well, it's not the best thing because it's a process of becoming into being. As for pleasures not being the best thing, that is because it is not an end, but a process of coming to being. So this is the argument. It can't be the best thing because it is the process. Now he repeats the argument earlier, right? These then are pretty much the thing said. Okay, these are the kind of common opinions about pleasure. So these are the 5. We have 5 justifications why it can't be, and then some. It's not serious because of this, and it's because it's not a end in itself. Now, we're going to stop here because this is where he ends. There's not much more to go on. We'll look at next time we meet. We'll look at chapter 12, and he's going to respond to this. I don't think he ends it here. I think that what this chapter is kind of elaboration of what is commonly said about the connection of pleasure, about theorizing about pleasure. Okay, and what's so important, why this is important. So we'll stop here. If you have any comments or questions, please put it below, and I'll respond to them when I see them. If you've liked the video, hit the like button. Please hit the like button because it helps the channel grow. Um, uh, 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 Thumbs up it, maybe. Please, it helps, man. Man. Okay, making fun of myself a little bit. Um, Another thing you do is share the video, share it far and wide, share in your social media, share it with your friends. Again, all this, when you share the video, it helps the algorithm out. Another thing you can do is you can subscribe if you've not subscribed. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. If you know people, someone who might be interested in these themes, introduce them to the channel, encourage them to subscribe because we'd like to grow the channel some more. Now, if you didn't like what I did here and you think something's wrong and you can always thumbs down it, but say why in the comments, and that way people can learn from it and benefit from it. And if you want to follow me on social media, my social media links below. If you want to know more about me as an academic and as a scholar and follow my research and check things out, you can do so through below the academic social media links. You can check them out. The next thing below that is if you want to help me to do what I do, you want to contribute, you want to financially contribute to help me do what I do here, you can do so through Patreon or Subscribestar. Links are below. Or you can assist by buying one of my books. The 3 books my currently available books are listed below. You can order them at your local bookstore, or you can do so through an online bookseller like Barnes & Noble or Amazon or anything like those. Another way you can help, or you can buy it through the publisher as well if you want to do it this way. Well, that's it. We'll stop here. I hope you have a good day. We'll look at chapter 12 next time we meet. Take care. Bye-bye, and have a good day. See you later.